Give me a short yet powerful hook. She said she was staying late for work. But when the security app sent me a notification, I wasn't prepared for what I'd see. It wasn't a hotel room. It wasn't a kiss. It was the way she looked at him, soft, familiar, like she used to look at me. Emotional goal: establish warmth, intimacy, and quiet devotion, then introduce the first subtle crack. The audience should feel his love before they feel his doubt. The story opens in the soft glow of early evening. The narrator stands barefoot in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, carefully plating dinner. He isn't trying to impress anyone, he just wants her to feel cared for. He mentions how she spent the entire week buried in meetings, how responsibility seems to sit permanently on her shoulders. He likes being the one place she can rest. The house feels alive with anticipation. A slow jazz playlist hums from the speaker. Garlic and rosemary hang in the air. 2 wine glasses catch the warm amber light above the table. He straightens the napkins twice, then laughs quietly at himself. She always teases him for being meticulous, says it's endearing. Through his narration, we understand their dynamic without heavy explanation. She's in her early 40s, composed, decisive, respected in her field. He's mid-20s, observant, emotionally fluent, still figuring life out but deeply sure about loving her. Their age difference isn't a tension point tonight, it's part of their rhythm. She moves through the world with confidence. He watches, learns, admires. He checks his phone. 7:18 p.m. She was supposed to be home at 7. Then it rings. Her name lights up the screen, and his expression softens instantly. He answers with a smile in his voice. But hers sounds slightly rushed. I'm so sorry, work ran late. A last-minute issue came up. There's a faint echo behind her, like she's in a large space. He notices, but barely. He's more focused on her tone. She sounds tired. He reassures her easily. It's okay. I'll keep it warm. There's a pause. Just half a second too long. I might be really late, she adds. Don't wait up. The call ends gently. No argument. No suspicion. Just quiet. He stands there for a moment, phone still in his hand, staring at the flickering candles across the room. The music suddenly feels louder. The house, bigger. He tells himself it's normal. She has real responsibilities. Real pressure. He's always admired that about her, the way people rely on her. Still, he blows out the candles one by one. The faint curl of smoke rises in the air, carrying the scent of melted wax. He wraps the plates carefully and slides them into the refrigerator. The clink of ceramic feels sharper in the silence. He pours himself a small glass of wine but doesn't drink much of it. That's when his phone vibrates again, a soft, mechanical buzz against the counter. A notification from their home security app. They installed it together months ago. She insisted, said it made her feel safer when he was home alone at night. He'd laughed at the time, teasing her about being protective. Now he frowns slightly. Driveway motion detected. He glances at the time. 7:42 p.m. His heart doesn't jump yet. It doesn't need to. He simply opens the app out of curiosity, casual, almost absent-minded. The camera thumbnail loads slowly. A still image of her car pulling into the driveway. His brow furrows. She said she was still at work. He stares at the screen, not alarmed, just confused. Maybe she forgot something. Maybe she came home to grab a file. He tells himself there's a reasonable explanation. But for the first time that evening, the house doesn't feel warm anymore. It feels like it's waiting. Emotional goal: build quiet suspicion without anger. The tension should feel internal, restrained, and deeply human. The audience must feel that he doesn't want to doubt her. He stares at the thumbnail for a few seconds before tapping it open. The footage begins with the familiar grainy softness of evening mode. Her car rolls slowly into the driveway. The headlights sweep across the garage door, briefly illuminating the front porch like a stage light. Then the engine shuts off. But she doesn't get out. The interior light flickers on. Through the windshield, he can see her silhouette, still, hands resting on the steering wheel. She doesn't reach for her bag. She doesn't check her phone. She just sits there. Watching her like this feels wrong. Too intimate. As if he's intruding on a private moment he was never meant to witness. He leans against the kitchen counter, arms folded loosely, trying to slow his breathing. Maybe she's finishing a call. Maybe she's gathering herself after a long day. She carries so much. He's seen it, the way her jaw tightens when she thinks no one is looking. 2 full minutes pass on the recording. She lifts a hand to her face, rubbing her temple. Then she exhales, a visible rise and fall of her shoulders. There's something heavy in the gesture. Not guilt. Not fear. Just weight. He feels a flicker of concern now instead of suspicion. Then the interior light clicks off. The driver's door opens. She steps out, smoothing her blouse, adjusting her hair in the reflection of the car window. It's a small thing, the kind of unconscious grooming people do before walking into a room. Still, it catches him. He exits the app before she reaches the front door. He doesn't want to greet her with footage fresh in his mind. He doesn't want his face to betray anything. The sound of her keys at the door feels louder than usual. The soft creak of the hinges. The gentle click as she locks it behind her. When she walks into the kitchen, she looks exactly like she always does, poised, elegant, effortlessly beautiful in a way that isn't trying too hard. Her heels come off first. She sighs softly. "There you are," she says, her voice warmer now. He forces a small smile. "Thought you were at work." The words slip out before he can polish them. She pauses, but only for a fraction of a second. "I was," she replies smoothly. "I just needed to grab something." She steps closer to him. And then she does something that makes his chest tighten. She reaches up, brushing her fingers lightly behind his ear, a familiar affectionate habit. Her touch is warm, deliberate. She leans in and presses a soft kiss to his cheek. It lingers half a breath longer than usual. He inhales her perfume. It's subtle, but different. Not dramatically. Just enough that he notices. Maybe it's new. Maybe he's imagining it. "You shouldn't have cooked," she murmurs, glancing at the counter. "I didn't mind," he says quietly. Her hand slides down from his jaw to his chest, resting briefly over his heart before falling away. It's such a natural gesture, something she's done 100 times. Tonight, it feels like reassurance. Or distraction. They move around each other in the kitchen with practiced ease. She opens the fridge. He pours her water. Their shoulders brush once, and normally, that small contact would spark something warm between them. Tonight, he's hyper-aware. He studies her profile as she drinks. The calm expression. The steadiness in her hands. If she's hiding something, she's good at it. And that thought unsettles him more than anything. Later, when she heads upstairs to shower, he stands alone in the kitchen again. The house is quiet except for the distant rush of water through pipes. His phone sits on the counter. He tells himself not to check the app again. But after a long moment, he picks it up anyway. Emotional goal, deepen the emotional conflict. Suspicion grows slowly, but so does his love. The tension should feel quiet and suffocating, not explosive. The next few days don't unravel all at once. They shift. Small things. Almost invisible. The kind you could easily dismiss if you wanted to. And he wants to. She leaves earlier than usual on Tuesday. Comes home later on Wednesday. On Thursday, she cancels lunch plans they had made casually the week before. Something urgent came up. Her tone is apologetic, but efficient, already mentally elsewhere. He keeps telling himself this is adulthood. This is what being married to someone accomplished looks like. Pressure. Responsibility. Long hours. Still, something in her eyes feels slightly out of reach. One night, while she showers upstairs, he opens the security app again. Not obsessively. Not angrily. Just, carefully. He scrolls back. There, 2 days ago. A camera across the street from a small cafe downtown. They installed that one after a break-in in the neighborhood. He remembers teasing her about turning their lives into a surveillance film. Now he's grateful for it. The clip loads. Her car is parked at the curb. She's sitting at an outdoor table. Across from her is a man. The footage is distant. Grainy. No sound. Just shapes and body language. The man leans forward as she speaks. He can't see her full expression, but her posture is different, less guarded. Her shoulders angled inward. Engaged. At one point, the man reaches across the table. And she doesn't pull her hand away. It isn't dramatic. It isn't a kiss. It isn't even overtly romantic. But the contact lingers. His thumb brushing lightly over her knuckles. Her hand remaining there, still, receptive. The narrator feels something tighten in his chest. Not jealousy at first. Recognition. That's how she touches him when she's listening closely. When she feels safe. He pauses the footage. His reflection stares back at him faintly in the screen, younger, uncertain. He hates the thought forming in his mind. Is this what people warned her about? That one day she'd wake up and realize she married someone who hadn't lived enough yet. He remembers the beginning of their relationship. The way she had hesitated. The careful conversations about timing, about perception, about what others might think. He had been the fearless one back then, sure that love was enough. Now doubt creeps in quietly. That night, when she slips into bed beside him, he doesn't confront her. Instead, he turns toward her. She automatically moves closer, fitting against him like muscle memory. Her leg drapes over his. Her hand rests flat against his chest, right over his heartbeat. It's instinctive. Familiar. He wraps his arms around her more tightly than usual. She murmurs softly, half asleep. You okay? Yeah, he whispers. But his eyes stay open long after her breathing evens out. He studies the ceiling in the dark, feeling the steady rhythm of her hand rising and falling with his chest. If she's pulling away, she's doing it gently. Almost kindly. And somehow, that hurts more than if she'd slammed a door. He closes his eyes and presses a quiet kiss into her hair. He doesn't know yet whether he's holding on. Or holding her closer before she lets go. Emotional goal, reach the emotional peak. The truth becomes undeniable, not explosive, but devastating in its quiet clarity. His heartbreak should feel restrained, mature, and deeply personal. It happens the following Monday. She cancels dinner again. This time, she doesn't even pretend it might be early. It's going to be a long night, she says softly. Don't wait up. He notices she doesn't explain further. After the call ends, he doesn't move right away. He just stands in the hallway, staring at the blank screen of his phone. Then, almost mechanically, he opens the security app. He doesn't hesitate anymore. The cafe camera loads. There she is. Same table. Same angle. Same man. Only tonight, the frame feels clearer, sharper somehow, like the world has decided he deserves to see it properly. They're closer this time. The man says something that makes her laugh, not the polite laugh she gives at networking events, but the one he knows intimately. The one that used to be reserved for late nights in their kitchen when she'd let her guard down completely. His throat tightens. The man reaches across the table again. And this time, she turns her hand upward. Their fingers lace. It isn't hurried. It isn't hidden. It's familiar. That's what breaks him. Not lust. Not secrecy. Familiarity. He stares at the screen until the footage loops. Then he grabs his keys. The drive downtown feels unreal. The city lights blur at the edges of his vision. His hands stay steady on the wheel, but his chest feels hollow, like something inside has quietly collapsed inward. When he pulls up near the cafe, he doesn't storm in. He just stands across the street for a moment, staring through the large front window. There they are. No grain. No pixelation. Just reality. She's leaning forward slightly, her elbow on the table. The man's thumb brushes along the side of her hand in slow, absent-minded strokes. She looks soft. Not seduced. Not manipulated. Just open. He feels the cold night air against his face, but it barely registers. For a second, he considers turning around. Driving home. Pretending he never saw it. But then she glances toward the window. And she sees him. Everything changes in an instant. Her expression drains of color. Her hand pulls back sharply, as if burned. The man follows her gaze, confused. He doesn't wait for explanations inside. He steps back onto the sidewalk just as she rushes out of the cafe doors. Her heels click unevenly against the pavement. She stops a few feet in front of him. They just look at each other. No shouting. No dramatic accusations. Just silence thick enough to choke on. I can explain, she says finally, her voice unsteady, the first crack he's heard from her in weeks. He studies her face. The faint shine in her eyes. The way her fingers tremble at her sides. He wants to be angry. Instead, he feels tired. Is there anything to explain? He asks quietly. The question isn't sharp. It's wounded. A car passes behind them, headlights sweeping across her face. For a brief second, she looks smaller. Not the confident woman who commands boardrooms, just a woman caught between choices. She steps closer. Close enough that he can smell her perfume again, that slightly unfamiliar note. I never meant for you to find out like this, she whispers. The words land heavily. Not it didn't mean anything. Not it's not what it looks like. He exhales slowly. And in that breath, something shifts. Not love. But certainty. Whatever this is, it's real. And now, so is the fracture between them. Emotional goal, honest confrontation. Strip away assumptions and reveal vulnerability on both sides. This isn't about exposing a villain, it's about exposing fear. They don't go back inside the cafe. Instead, they sit in his car. The engine is off. The night wraps around them in a muted hush, broken only by distant traffic and the faint hum of streetlights. The space feels smaller than usual, intimate, almost fragile. She sits in the passenger seat, angled slightly toward him but not quite facing him fully. Her hands are clasped tightly in her lap. He notices the subtle tremor in her fingers. For a long moment, neither of them speaks. He keeps his eyes forward, staring through the windshield at nothing in particular. He's afraid that if he looks at her too long, his voice will crack. Finally, she exhales shakily. His name is Daniel, she begins. We worked together years ago. Before I met you. The name lands softly, but heavily. She explains that they reconnected a few weeks ago at a conference. It started as coffee. Then conversation. Then more coffee. She insists nothing physical happened beyond what he saw. I didn't plan this, she whispers. I swear to you, I didn't. He turns to look at her then. Really look at her. Her mascara is slightly smudged beneath her eyes. Not dramatically, just enough to show she's been holding herself together too tightly. Why, he asks. It's not accusatory. It's confused. She swallows. Because he knew me, before I became everything I am now. Her voice softens. Before the pressure. Before the expectations. She hesitates, then adds quietly, before I started worrying that one day you'd realize you deserved someone lighter. The words hit him harder than the footage did. He frowns. Lighter. She lets out a hollow laugh. Closer to your world. Your age. Your future. Her gaze drops to her hands. I'm not blind. I know what people think when they see us. There it is. The insecurity she never voiced. He feels something twist inside him, not anger now, but sadness. I chose you, he says gently. Not because you're easy. Because you're you. She looks at him then, eyes shining. Vulnerable in a way she rarely allows. I started wondering if one day you'd wake up and realize I'm temporary, she admits. So when Daniel showed up, looking at me like I wasn't aging, like I wasn't complicated, it felt good. The honesty is brutal in its simplicity. She reaches for his hand hesitantly. Her fingers brush against his, tentative, asking permission. He doesn't pull away. But he doesn't close his hand around hers either. I never stopped loving you, she says, her thumb tracing lightly across his knuckles. I just panicked. He studies their hands, touching, but not intertwined. I kept thinking maybe I wasn't enough for you, he confesses quietly. Maybe you needed someone who understood your world better. Someone who didn't still feel like he's building his. Her breath catches. For the first time tonight, they're not adversaries. They're just two people who let fear speak louder than trust. Tears spill over her lashes, sliding down her cheeks. He instinctively lifts his free hand and brushes one away with his thumb. The gesture is automatic, tender, familiar. She leans into his touch. And for a second, it feels like before. But beneath the warmth, there's a crack neither of them can ignore. Love is still here. But so is doubt. And both of them can feel it sitting between their joined hands. Emotional goal, mature, heartbreaking clarity. This is not a fight, it's the quiet realization that love and trust are not always the same thing. The days after the cafe feel strangely polite. They move around each other carefully, like two people carrying fragile glass. No raised voices. No slammed doors. Just softness where there used to be ease. She tells him the next morning that she ended it. Completely. Blocked numbers. No more meetings. Her voice is steady when she says it, but her eyes search his face for relief. He nods. He believes her. That's what makes it harder. Because the issue isn't whether she'll see the other man again. It's that he saw her reach for someone else. That image doesn't disappear just because she promises it will. 3 nights later, they sit at the kitchen table, the same one where candles once flickered and rosemary filled the air. Tonight there's no music playing. No wine poured. Just 2 glasses of water between them. She folds her hands together, gathering courage. I choose you, she says quietly. Not because I'm afraid to lose you. Because I love you. The words hang there, sincere, unembellished. He studies her face. The fine lines near her eyes he's memorized. The strength in her posture even when she's breaking inside. She's always carried herself like someone who knows exactly who she is. Tonight, she looks unsure. He reaches across the table and takes her hands in his. Her skin is warm. Familiar. He rubs his thumb gently over her knuckles, the same place he saw another man's hand rest. The comparison stings. I know you do, he says softly. She squeezes his hands tighter, as if anchoring herself. Then we can fix this. We've handled worse things. We talk. We rebuild. He wishes rebuilding were that simple. He stands slowly and moves around the table toward her. She rises too, instinctively stepping into him. He cups her face in both hands, a gesture he's done countless times, usually followed by a kiss. Her eyes flutter closed, leaning into his palms. He presses his forehead against hers instead. They stay like that for a long moment, breathing the same air. Her hands slide up his chest, gripping the fabric of his shirt like she's afraid he might disappear. "I still love you," he whispers. Her breath shudders. "Then don't let me go." That's when his voice falters. "I don't know how to stay without wondering," he admits. "I don't know how to look at you and not picture that table." That moment. Her shoulders begin to shake. She hides her face against his chest, and he wraps his arms around her automatically. The hug is tight. Desperate. Familiar in all the ways that hurt. He buries his face in her hair, inhaling the scent he knows so well. "I don't want to become someone who checks cameras every time you're late," he murmurs. "I don't want to doubt the woman I love." She clutches him harder. "I was scared," she whispers into his shirt. "I let that fear ruin something good." He strokes her back slowly, soothingly, not as a husband claiming, but as someone comforting. "I think we were both scared," he says. They pull apart just enough to look at each other. Tears stream freely down her face now. He wipes them away gently, memorizing the curve of her cheek beneath his thumb. "I need peace," he says quietly. "And right now, I don't have it." The words land softly. But they change everything. Emotional goal: provide full emotional closure. The separation is peaceful, reflective, and transformative. Love existed, it just couldn't survive fear. 3 months later, the silence feels different. Not sharp anymore. Just settled. He narrates from a smaller apartment across town. The space is modest but warm, sunlight spilling through wide windows, a single couch, unpacked books stacked near the wall. It doesn't echo the way the old house did after she left. He's learning the quiet. There are nights he still reaches instinctively to the other side of the bed. Still expects the soft weight of her arm across his chest. But the ache has softened into something less jagged. They handled the separation the same way they handled most things, calmly. No screaming. No shattered dishes. Just paperwork signed at the dining table where candles once burned. Her pen trembling only slightly as she wrote her name. They didn't rush it. They talked through everything: finances, memories, what to keep, what to let go. Each decision felt like folding away a shared chapter. He remembers the last morning he packed a box. She stood in the doorway of the bedroom, arms wrapped around herself, watching him carefully tape it shut. "Are you okay?" she had asked softly. He smiled in that small way he does when he doesn't have a complete answer. "I will be." Now, sitting alone in his new place, he understands what he meant. He doesn't hate her. That surprises people when they ask. But what they had was real. It wasn't erased by one fracture. It just couldn't carry the weight of it. One afternoon, they meet for coffee, neutral ground this time. A quiet place with large windows and pale wood tables. It feels strangely symbolic. She looks beautiful when she walks in. Not glamorous. Just composed. There's a gentleness to her now, like she's shed something heavy. They smile at each other, hesitant at first, then warmer. Conversation comes easier than expected. Work updates. Small life adjustments. The kind of things people share when there's still respect. At one point, she reaches across the table, slowly, deliberately, and rests her hand near his. Not touching. Just close. "I'm proud of you," she says quietly. "For choosing what you needed." The words aren't defensive. They're sincere. He nods. "You taught me that." There's a pause. Not awkward. Just full. When they stand to leave, she steps closer and adjusts his collar absent-mindedly, the way she used to before events or dinners. The gesture is instinctive, intimate without being romantic. He lets her. Then he leans down and presses a soft kiss to her cheek. She lingers half a second longer than necessary. Not to reclaim. Just to remember. They pull apart slowly. "I hope you find peace," she whispers. I hope you stop being afraid of losing what's already yours, he replies gently. They share one last look, not full of longing, but understanding. As he walks away, he doesn't look back immediately. When he finally does, she's still standing there, watching him, not with regret, but gratitude. He turns forward again. Their love didn't survive. But it shaped him. It taught him that intimacy isn't just about holding someone close, it's about trusting them when they step out of sight. And next time, he knows, he'll choose someone who isn't afraid to stay.